Hey, what's up guys, it's Vesper and it's that time again. Let's do another guide. So today's guide is how to escape the corner. And I'm going to do my best to give you guys tips on how to defend yourself in the corner. I say do my best because defending yourself in the corner in Street Fighter 6 is very difficult, requires a lot of experience. But one thing I noticed is that a lot of beginner players have troubles getting out of the corner because they don't see the opportunities they have to get out and they don't realize it and they end up staying in the corner. So I'm going to focus a lot of that in this video. And on top of that, I've been ranking up a lot of characters to master rank in Street Fighter 6 lately. And one thing I always notice, no matter what character I'm playing, players just fall apart in the corner. And I think a lot of that is because they don't know all their options to escape, and I simply just throw loop them to death. So let me share everything I know and what I use to escape the corner. Now the reason why the corner is so dangerous in most fighting games is because you have nowhere left to go. You're stuck in the corner, you can't move back any further, the opponent can easily outspace you, they have stronger combos to hit you with, and if you continue to guess wrong, you're going to take even bigger damage because there's usually corner combos that they can hit you with. On top of that, in Street Fighter 6, you also have to worry about DI, which is basically unblockable in the corner as well. And keep this in mind too, that the stronger your opponent's offense, your defense has to be equally as good to hang with them. Otherwise, like I said, you'll just maul through inexperienced players with throw loops and other set play. So let's go over the basic options first, and then I'm going to show you guys some advanced tricks. Alright, let's break this down. There are 4 main ways the opponent can open you up while you're in the corner in this game. And the number one highest priority thing you need to pay attention to is, of course, drive impact. Whether you're close to the corner, in the corner, and in burnout, it needs to be on your mind at all times on top of the other options. And yes, I know it's difficult, it requires a lot of experience, but just know that when the opponent uses drive impact on you, they're taking a risk. And if you successfully counter their drive impact, then you're out of the corner and you deal a lot of damage. The other 3 ways everyone should know by now, it's strike, throw, or shimmy. Strike can be anything from a jump attack to an overhead to a low. Throw could be a normal throw, like as a throw loop, a command grab, and a shimmy could be anything from walking back to dash back to just neutral jumping. I'm sure you guys have seen it all by now. Okay, let's talk about your basic options that you have when you're stuck in the corner. I'll tell you what they counter and what they lose to. So let's start with the most obvious one, blocking. I know, a lot of people seem to forget this is in Street Fighter 6. So when you block attacks, you'll notice that the opponent gets slowly pushed out, giving you space to escape the corner. It doesn't cost any resource, and it's relatively safe. What it loses to, obviously, is throws, but it beats strikes, and it beats shimmies. Next is going for the throw. If you successfully tech a grab, then that puts a lot of space between your opponent once again. This, of course, loses the shimmies. You'll take a lot of damage, and you'll be put back into the blender. It can also lose the strikes if you're mashing it and you're not using delay tech. You can also wake up and strike. This is extremely risky because you're basically betting on your opponent doing a shimmy. It loses to strikes and it loses to throws. But if you happen to guess right and you do like a wake up low attack, because they're going to be walking backwards on you, you can get out of the corner right away and get some damage on top of that. Your next option is using parry. I personally like to use parry a lot. It's stronger than blocking in a lot of cases. You don't have to worry about getting hit by highs or lows, and it stops your drive meter from being drained if your opponent keeps attacking you. Now, obviously, it comes at a higher risk than blocking because if the opponent guesses right and throws you, you're going to take a lot more damage. But at least it also puts your mind at ease because you don't have to worry about drive impact for a little bit because it defends against that as well. Another really strong option is to go for it and attempt to jump out. I know this sounds crazy, but a lot of pro players even go for this. And it has the possibility of beating 2 options. If the opponent goes for a throw, you can jump out of this. And if they go for a shimmy, then you can jump out as well because they're going to back up when you jump out. Now, I did say possibly. It's still a risk, especially if your opponent's corner game is very, very strong. They'll most likely have setups to deal with this, especially once they knock you down. So keep that in mind. You might end up being put back into the blender and tossed right back in. If the opponent just hits you with an anti-air or like an uppercut, for example, then it's totally worth it to go for the jump. It's a small amount of damage to escape the corner. Totally worth it in that case. But if they have some kind of setup that brings you back in, then of course, then it's a lot more dangerous. I think if you're more of a beginner player or you're someone in the lower ranks, I think jumping is very, very strong. It's very unlikely your opponent has good options to stop you from jumping out. But otherwise, going for the jump against really good players is usually useful when you build some space and not after they knock you down. Alright, moving on, the next option is the classic wake up reversal. It doesn't matter if it's an invincible attack or a wake up super. It's the most common thing you're going to see across all ranks. And it's super high risk, super high reward. If you land it, you get out of the corner, you do some damage. And it's nice too because you make your opponent have to guess as well. Show them that you're willing to do it. But the super high risk part, of course, is that if they do successfully block it, then you're dead and it's game over pretty much because of the punish counter system. Next is using your drive reversal. Drive reversal is pretty tricky. I definitely want to do a guide on this in the future. It's tricky because they're -8 on block in Street Fighter 6, so if the opponent successfully baits it, you're gonna eat a lot of damage. But they're really good against attacks where the opponent cannot bait it. And things like Dragon Lash Kick, or when the opponent goes in and uses Drive Rush, for example. There's a lot of particular moments, but I'm gonna have to go into this in more detail in a separate guide. You can go for your own Drive Impact. I see a lot of the lower ranks go for this. Just keep in mind that using Drive Impact as a reversal or when you're in the corner is extra dangerous if your opponent is already on you, because it loses the throw. So they'll likely go for light attacks to bait it and they can throw you, or worse, they'll do light attacks and then do their own Drive Impact, and then you're going to lose a lot of drive meter. Most of the time you're going to want to use Drive Impact when you're in the corner, when the opponent is more around this distance, because there's a higher chance they're going to go for bigger pokes like, you know, low forward fireball or some type of attack where they can't cancel it and you'll hit them with the DI. You can also go for something fancy like a wake up backdash. I'm gonna get Cammy to do this on me because this is really hard doing this by myself in training mode, but Cammy's gonna go for a throw loop. I'm gonna backdash with Kimberly and you can see it avoids the throw. And then what you can do after that is attempt to go for a light or throwing them back. It's really good when you have like command throw characters because you'll likely hit them with an SPD or with a Lily's command grab. Go for the back throw so you can side switch them. I know backdash in the corner sounds unintuitive, but they are invincible to throws. They just lose the strike, so you have to worry about that if they go for a meaty, for example. Alright, the last option is very character specific, but a lot of characters do have this, and it's basically using any special move that you can do in the air instantly, either to escape or to strike your opponent. So you're basically combining strike and jump at the same time. I'll give you guys some examples. So with Jury, you can jump forward medium punch instantly and then go for the dive kick. Blanca has one of the strongest options. He can instantly jump in the air and do an air ball. Ken can also do an instant air OD Tatsu. This is really hard for a lot of characters to stop him from getting out. Luke can Superman his way out of the corner. And Rishi can do a wake up double jump. So you're going to have to use your imagination on this one depending on which character you play, but it's going to beat wake up throw options and it's still going to lose the strikes. The difference is these are just a little bit more rewarding because if you do get the jump, your opponent will most likely not have a setup to stop it because a lot of these options are really strong and you have really far jumping arcs. I also want to quickly mention, guys, if you're new to my channel, that I've made a bunch of defense guides already covering things like how to do delay tech, how to use parry, how to defend against throw loops, and how to defend yourself against drive impact. All these guys will be really helpful to you to defend yourself in the corner. Now we're done with the basics. Now I'm going to teach you guys some tricks, and now we're going to get into option selects. Now I'm going to show you guys 3 core option selects that I think will be really helpful to know that a lot of experienced players use. And those are the 3 delays. So there's delay tech, delay jump, and delay strike. So let's talk about the first option select, and that's delay tech. So delay tech we went over in great detail before. I highly recommend you watch the guide we did on it. But what it essentially is that instead of just pressing throw when you think the opponent's going to throw you, you're going to block for a very brief moment, and then while still blocking, you hit throw a little later. And what this is going to do is it's going to guard against strikes, but also have enough time to tech throw. So it covers 2 options. So let me show you guys a quick example. I'm going to get Cammy to knock me down, and then she's going to strike me right when I get up, and I'm going to mash throw. You can see she counter hits me. This time, I'm going to wake up, and I'm going to guard, and I'm going to hit throw with a very slight delay. So let's get her to do it again. So I'm going to guard first, then hit throw. Very brief delay. You can check my inputs. I'll do it one more time. Check my inputs. Very brief. Now I'm going to get her to throw me, and then she's going to throw me again. I'm going to use the exact same timing. Show it one more time. I'm guarding first. Hold guard. Throw, slight delay. Now I'm going to set both to random. I'm not going to know which one she's going to do. So I'm going to use the exact same timing. My throw didn't come out. I blocked the attack. She went for a throw and I teched it, so it covered both options. And like I said, I go over this in much more detail, and it has much more to do with just waking up when you're knocked down. You can do this when you're blocking as well, and defending against pressure. So the next option select is delayed jump. Now this is the exact same thing, except instead of pressing throw with a slight delay, we're jumping with a slight delay. So we're blocking for a brief moment, and then we're jumping out. So this is interesting, because what this is going to do, it's going to cover strikes, and it's going to cover shimmies. So let me show you guys a quick example of that. I'm going to get Cammy to strike me again after she knocks me down. I'm going to block for a brief moment and then try to jump. And you can see I didn't jump that time, but I was able to block her attack. And then this time, let's get Cammy to shimmy me. I'm going to block for a slight moment and then jump. And you can see I get the jump out, and she backed up and gave me space. And the third option select is delay strike. And once again, it's the same thing. Instead of doing a delay throw or a delay jump, this time we're going to do a delay and then attack. So block first for a very brief moment and then attack. Ideally, you want to use your fastest light attack like a crouching light punch for a lot of characters. Or you can go for something a little bit more bold and go for a low attack. Preferably something that you can cancel into. So example time again, let's get Cammy to do a strike on us after she knocks us down. We're going to block for a very brief moment and then do a strike. My strike didn't come out, I blocked first. And then let's get Cammy to shimmy. Let's try it again. Block for a brief moment, and then I go for a low. And you can see when she went for the shimmy, she has to walk backwards, and then I clipped her toes. Using a light attack is a little safer depending on what they try to shimmy you with, because it locks them down right away and block stun. But of course, going for something like a low 4 will be much more rewarding if you land it. I know that was pretty overwhelming, so let me recap those option selects. So a delay tech is going to beat throws and it's going to beat strikes, but it's going to lose hard to shimmies. A delayed jump is going to beat strikes and possibly beat a shimmy, but it's going to lose to throws. And a delayed strike is going to beat strikes, and it's definitely going to beat shimmies, and it's going to lose to throws. So the important part to know is that these three option selects still have risk. They can still be beaten, but at least they cover two options rather than one. So that's why a lot of players use these. You'll notice a lot of the defensive examples I've given you guys lose to throws. And that's because throws are the least threatening option in Street Fighter 6 because there's no stun bar. Yes, there's still throw loops, and yes, throws are still one of the most common things people will do, but it'll give you time to eventually guess right and figure out a way to get out. Throws are the least damaging thing your opponent can hit you with, and if you successfully tech a throw, then that's your chance to get out. Alright, we've covered a ton of defensive options. I've showed you guys some tricks with option selects. Now this last part of the guide is the most important. I think this is the trap that a lot of beginners fall into, and that is not seizing the opportunity to actually escape the corner. So what I mean is I see a lot of players successfully guessing right, and they defend, and then they don't take that opportunity to actually get out of the corner. Instead, they're scared and they still sit in the corner when they build some space, and they give their opponent another chance to open them up again, and they have to guess again. So the general rule of thumb is once you gain distance on your opponent, you need to start leaving the corner. So let me show you guys what I mean. Let's say the opponent goes for a throw and you guess right and you tech the throw. Look at all that space you build. I see a lot of players just sitting there waiting for the opponent to walk back in on them and then go for a strike and throw again. You have to start walking out immediately. You got that space. Now look, now I have some wiggle room. Now I can start whiff punishing again, right? Or you can just drive rush in, start your pressure, use your mobility moves. You need to gain that space. You need to get out of the corner as soon as the opportunity presents itself. Let's say someone goes for a shimmy and you guess right and you start blocking. You see them walk back, you know, clip their toes, start moving forward. You can jump out at that point, right? They just gave up their offense for a very small moment. You have to look for these situations. If they go for a meaty, once again, they're gonna push themselves back like we talked about at the start of this video. Take that opportunity. Don't forget, a lot of attacks in Street Fighter 6 are minus on block. it's now going to be your turn. If they back up and play it safe and they're trying to outspace you, you also have to move forward as they move back. Because if you just sit there in the corner and use your longest range buttons, you're easy pickings for a whiff punish. If your opponent starts to give you space, don't forget to use your drive rush, especially like a drive rush low. It doesn't matter if your character's got a slow drive rush because they're still going to be relatively close enough for you, and if they block and they're not ready for it, it's now going to become your turn and you can turn the tables on them. Drive rush is really important in this game, offensively and defensively. If you notice your opponent is playing really carefully and they're really paying attention to you trying to jump out and they're giving you all that space, don't forget to just simply walk up and back throw them. The back throw is super powerful and it turns the tables on them. And then better yet, you can use a drive rush back throw. If your opponent takes the risk and goes for a DI, make sure you know your character's side switch. Pretty much every single character has a side switch combo to turn the tables once you successfully DI them back. If you don't know one and you're a beginner, then just back throw them. It's well worth it to put them in the corner as well. I see a lot of players going for jumps in the corner because if you land a hit, it's going to be really damaging. It could be throws if they're delayed and you get hit by a full jumping combo. But keep in mind that if they jump and go for the shimmy, that's a lot more dangerous than walking backwards because they can't defend themselves in the air and they can take a lot of damage that way if you're ready for it. The last piece of advice I can give you guys is seize the opportunity early as well. All the advice I just gave you guys, use that same information when you're close to the corner, when you're not quite there. Well, you can still move backwards, you know, and whiff punish, but start advancing forward sooner than later before you're in a situation where you can and you have to guess right. It's very, very important to be aware. So let's wrap up this video, guys. I know that was a ton of information. I'm sure it was very overwhelming. But defending yourself in the corner takes a lot of experience and of course a lot of practice, but it'll help you guys in other fighting games as well. It's all about knowing your options. If there is something in this video that you guys didn't quite understand or you have any more questions for me, leave them in the comments below. And don't forget, guys, I stream live every single day pretty much. You guys can also ask me questions there. Also, don't forget, guys, we have a pretty huge playlist of guides now, so be sure to check those out if you missed them. And yeah, I'll keep you guys posted on more Street Fighter 6 news in the future. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care. Peace out.